Welcome to Courageous Conversations with Dr. Christina. This is Moving Forward Monday, a space for honest dialogue, real life, and healing conversations that help us move forward with intention. This podcast is audio only by design, so you can listen without distraction and receive what you need at your own pace. Let's get into today's courageous conversation. Before we begin, I want to create a safe listening space. This podcast discusses real-life experiences related to trauma, healing, and growth. Nothing shared here is meant to re-traumatize or overwhelm you. You are always in control of how you listen. You can pause, skip, or step away at any time. This podcast is not a substitute for therapy or professional support, but it is a space for honesty, reflection, and courage. If at any point something feels heavy, please take care of yourself in whatever way you need. You are not weak for needing support, and you are not alone.
Hey, welcome back. This is Dr. Christina, and we are about to go into our courageous conversations. Today, we're talking about identity formation, but I want to start this one a little differently. This episode is for the person everybody depends on, the one who keeps it together, the one who figures it out, the one people call when things fall apart. Yeah, I'm talking to you, the strong one. And if that's been your role for a long time, you already know. People celebrate your strength, but they don't always understand what it took for you to become that way. Let me say this, and I want you to hear my heart. That's why I had to pause for a quick second, because strength saved me, but it also silenced me. I want you to understand there is nothing wrong with strength. Strength is powerful. Strength is admirable. Strength keeps things moving when everything else feels uncertain. But when strength is built in survival, it can quietly become armor. And armor doesn't just protect. Armor blocks. I want to say that again. Armor doesn't just protect. Armor blocks. It's like in the book of Ephesians 6, when it tells us to put on the whole armor of God, because the armor protects us and blocks the fiery dots from penetrating. It tells us to put on the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the sandals of peace, and for us to take up the sword of salvation, which is the gospel. So it is equipping us to protect us, but it's also geared towards blocking anything from coming in, right? I hope that was simplified for you, because it was for me. So let's go a little deeper, right? Because strength doesn't just show up randomly. It's formed. And for a lot of us, it forms in moments where life doesn't give you time to process, not just grief, but layers of life happening all at once. Moments where you don't get to pause. You don't get to sit in your emotions, because real life is asking you questions like, where am I going to live? Where am I going to sleep? How am I going to survive this? So instead of grieving, you adjust. You move, you figure it out. And without realizing it, you start becoming someone different. Y'all, I don't know about you, but for me, that was everyday life for me. It wasn't just grief. It was grief on top of responsibilities, y'all, on top of survival, and then on top of growing up too fast. And after everything shifted in my life, and I'm talking about the shift that took place early in my life. And I talked about that in the episodes prior to this. And if you missed it, you should go back and listen. But I found myself homeless, trying to figure out where I was going to go, where I was going to lay my head. And at the same time, I became a mother at 14. Now I'm not just a child. I'm a child trying to care for a child, y'all. Still grieving, still processing, and still trying to understand life. But life is not slowing down for me to catch up. And then, right after that, I lose my son 6 months after giving birth to him. So now, it's not just one layer of grief, y'all. It's grief on top of grief. And here's the part that's real. I didn't have the language for it. I didn't have the awareness for it. I didn't even have the space for it because my focus wasn't, how do I feel? My focus was, how do I keep going? So I became strong, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. And this is where identity begins to form. Not from intention, but from necessity, y'all. When you have to keep moving, you don't always process what's happening to you. You become who the moment requires. You become adaptable. You become resilient. You become solution focused. But underneath all of that, there are parts of you that never got acknowledged. Parts of you that never got to say, this is too much. So strength becomes your language, even when pain is still present, y'all. You know, when identity forms this way, it begins to follow you. Because now your identity is tied into surviving, pushing through, and fighting it out. You're trying to fight it while figuring it out. So as you grow, you don't take the time to slow down. You don't sit in emotions comfortably. You don't always recognize when you need support. And that's because you're so used to adapting and you're so used to carrying. You're so used to being the one who makes it work. And even when life stabilizes, without us even recognizing, our body and our mind is still in survival mode, y'all. And you want to know something? This is where it gets quiet. Remember, we talked about putting on the armor. You know, the armor blocks us. The armor protects us. But guess what? The armor can also cause us. Yes. And this is where it gets quiet, because strength works. It helps you to get through. But it also builds a version of you that doesn't always know how to come out of survival mode. So guess what? We become the dependable one, the one who can handle it all. We become the one who doesn't break down. But internally, there is still unprocessed grief, unacknowledged pain, moments you move through but never actually heal from. I know I am not the only one. I know I cannot be the only one that just keeps moving through unacknowledged pain and unprocessed grief. But guess what? If nobody ever slowed you down or slowed me down, I may not even realize how much I have been carrying. Survival doesn't stop you in the moment to process anything, because you're just trying to survive day to day, situation after situation, right? So I want to show you how we can connect grief and awareness, right? Because guess what? This episode is about grief and awareness through identity formation, right? So guess what? Grief is not always loud. It isn't. Sometimes grief can look like moving on too quickly, not talking about it. I know I did that. I just don't want to talk about it. But it did not stop grief from existing. Here's one: staying busy. And this one was key for me: becoming responsible too soon. My mother died I was 13. I got pregnant. I had a baby at 14. Yeah. And then he died at 6 months after me giving birth. So becoming responsible too soon, that was me. But guess what? What does awareness look like? Awareness is what allows you to look back and say, that wasn't just life happening. That was a lot for me to carry. That was a lot for me to carry at that young age. I did what I had to do. But now, y'all, I have the opportunity. You have the opportunity to understand the difference between the two. Because here's the truth. When you've been in survival, slowing down can feel unfamiliar because you're so used to going. You're so used to moving. So when it's time to slow down and begin to process things, it can be unfamiliar and even uncomfortable, because your mind is saying, if I slow down, I might have to feel. And most of the time, we don't want to feel. If I stop moving, I just might have to acknowledge what I just went through. And that can be very overwhelming. So guess what we do? As survivors, guess what we do? We just keep moving. We just keep going, not realizing that what we're avoiding is actually what needs our attention the most. We cannot run from grief. We must become aware that it exists. Yes, that hurt. Yes, I've been running from it. But now I need to stop, process, acknowledge, and deal. We need to look at what is integration and not perfection. Because most of the time, we don't stop because we don't want to feel like we're imperfect. Because we're supposed to have it all together, right? But where do you give yourself grace? Where do you give yourself the opportunity to say, that was too much for me at that age? That was too much for me to carry. So I don't want you to look at this from a place of perfection. I want you to look at this from a place of integration, because this is where growth happens. Growth happens when we stop pretending it didn't affect us. We got to stop pretending that that thing, whatever it is, did not affect us, and begin to understand how it shaped us. You know that perfection will say, oh, I handled it, I'm fine. But you know deep down inside, you're not. But you know what integration says? I handled it, but I never processed it. Perfection will say, that's just how I am. No, that ain't how you are. No, but integration will tell you that's who I had to become. And those are the two different things. They are two different things. No, that's just not how you are. That's just who you had to become. That's who I had to become. I had to go from 13 to 23 overnight, it seemed like. Going from somebody protecting me to now trying to protect myself in a world that doesn't stop moving because something has happened to you. But when we have the opportunity to stop and acknowledge whatever that thing is, then we can really say, that's not who I am. That's who I became. And I want you to understand what it feels like to now start reclaiming your strength, because you're still strong. That doesn't change anything, because it takes a strong person to survive. It takes a strong person to even acknowledge. But now you get the opportunity to redefine what strength looks like, y'all. You get the opportunity to not just push through, because that's not what strength is. Strength isn't just pushing through. It's about pausing, acknowledging, and processing. It's you being able to say, I survived that. Yes, that impacted me, because that's where your awareness steps in it, right? You're aware that, yes, that impacted me, but guess what? I survived that. So I am strong. And I don't have to keep just surviving. I can now begin to thrive, because I'm now learning and understanding. Y'all, I hope I am speaking to you today, because I am really speaking to myself, because we need to hear that what we survived did not and will not shape who we are becoming. Okay? So I just want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what did I move through today? Because I know today brought about some feelings, right? So I want you to really stop and process. What did I move through that I never really stopped to process? Not what did I survive, but what did I carry without understanding it? I just want you to notice that. No judgment. I can't judge. I'm not here to judge, because I have no room to judge. And I want to ask you a question. while you're taking a moment to just ask yourself that. What would it look like to become more aware of your own story this week? Maybe you can reflect. Maybe you can journal. Or maybe you could just say out loud, that was a lot. Because awareness doesn't weaken you. It grounds you. One more time. That was a lot. That really felt good, y'all. That really felt good. I hope you will take the time to do it. Just say it out loud that it was a lot, but you made it through. Because guess what? It didn't weaken you, it grounded you. Yeah. So, we're getting ready to close. But if there is one thing that felt a little heavy, it's okay. If anything in here felt a little heavy, it's okay. Because this isn't about reopening wounds. It's about finally understanding them. You were strong when you had to be, but now you don't have to live on autopilot anymore. You get the opportunity to be aware. You get the opportunity to process all of this. You get the opportunity to grow from it. Because guess what? You have already survived it. Now you're learning how to understand your story. And guess what? That changes everything. You're now learning how to understand your story because you've already survived it. So why are you still running from it? You don't have to run from it anymore. You can now face it, process it, and grow from it. I hope you have enjoyed this episode and all of the ones prior to today. But if you have not yet gone to listen, please do, because this journey will help you as much as it has helped me. And remember, I'll meet you here on the next Courageous Conversations with Dr. Christina Blake. Until the next time.
Thank you for sitting in this conversation today. If you recognized yourself in this episode, know this: loneliness and grief does not mean you were too much. It often means you were carrying something heavy without enough room to process it. As we continue this season, we're not reopening wounds. We're understanding patterns. Be gentle with yourself. Keep choosing courage and keep moving forward.